Hello everyone, my name is Webweaver and welcome to something that is long overdue, a World of Horror tutorial on the basics, stats, combat, and dice rolls. If you're new here, I have over 900 hours on this game, and 99% of that has been documented in video or stream format, all on this YouTube channel. If you'd like, subscribe for daily World of Horror content and weekly variety. I really appreciate all the support. So let's get into the video. Stats have two main functions: combat and investigation skill checks. How this actually works is a little silly, and the game hides some of this information from you if you don't have the extra math option enabled in the options menu. I'd recommend going ahead and checking that. Make sure it's on. For investigations, certain options you can choose are skill checks or dice rolls. Each skill check has an associated stat, and if you pick one of these, the game rolls a d12 and compares it with the appropriate stat. So if you're doing a strength check, the game compares the d12 roll with your strength stat number. Now, this is the part where it gets a little confusing, but I promise it's really simple. You want the d12 to roll under your stat or to parity it. If following the above example, you have a strength check. Let's say you have a strength stat of 7. If the d12 rolls a 7 or below, that's your success state. If it rolls an 8 or higher, that's your fail state. This is how it works for every stat. So if you're doing a knowledge check, it compares it with your knowledge stat. If it does it with charisma, then it's comparing with your charisma stat. And you always want to roll under. So getting a roll of a 1 is the luckiest roll you can get, and getting a roll of 12 is the unluckiest roll you can get. But Web, you might say, if my stat is 12, that means I'll never fail, because a d12 can't roll higher than a 12, right? And to that, I would say, kinda. The game has you investigate locations, and each location has a threat level that scales with things like game difficulty, random events, so on and so forth. Based on the threat level, the game will give you minus modifiers to your dice roll. But, let me stop you right there. These minus modifiers are actually plus modifiers, giving you +1 and +2 to the dice roll, respectively. So, you can only 100% guarantee a stat check success if you have a stat of 14. Because if you are investigating a location that is giving you a +2 to the dice roll, and it rolls a 12, then 12 plus 2 is 14. So if you have a stat of 14, you can never fail a skill check for that. You can check a threat level in the location on the town screen. You have to click on the location itself, and then you hover your cursor over these 4 little bars that are stacked on top of each other. The arrow points to what it currently is, and you can see what's going on. Now, if you're in a mystery where you're locked out of the town screen, sometimes you can still check, but other times you can't. So you're just gonna have to roll with that. Now let's talk about combat. In combat, you have this funky little grid with multiple tabs, wheels, that have assorted actions of various types. They're all thematic, right? So you've got your combat wheel, you've got your defensive wheel, your prayer wheel, stuff like that. And some of these actions, well, most of the useful ones anyways, have a corresponding stat. There's also 2 locked actions that become unlocked when you have a weapon equipped: normal attack and strong attack. The weapon actions use your weapon's stat. So if you have a steak knife equipped, the normal attack and strong attack become dexterity actions. You can check a weapon stat by clicking on it in your inventory or hovering the cursor over it in the shop menu. Combat works with 2 very important restrictions: time units capping out at 200, and the 8 action limit. Each action has an associated time units cost, and you can only take a total of 8 actions a turn, even if you don't fully fill up the bar. The only thing stats do in combat is make your actions faster if that action matches the stat. So dexterity will only make dexterity actions faster. This applies to all stats. So if you are using a perception weapon, it will only get faster by increasing perception. If you are using a perception weapon, only perception will benefit that weapon, as far as stats go. And the ratio of stat to time unit is 1 to 3. So for every 1 of your stat, you lower the time unit cost by 3. So that strength of 7 I mentioned earlier, that would make strength actions, and again, only strength actions, faster by 21 time units. You can determine how fast a weapon can attack by its speed. That number is how many time units it takes for a normal attack. So we've covered how stats work almost in their entirety, but you might have noticed we've only talked about speed and not damage or accuracy. Damage is based on the weapon and any modifiers, so perks, injuries, items, weaknesses, stuff like that. Accuracy is based on your weapon's hit chance, your enemy's power, and your level. For every level, including level 1, you get plus 10 accuracy. So that steak knife I mentioned earlier has a hit chance of 70. So a level 1 character equipping it will have a base hit chance of 80. Now, enemies have power levels, and this power reduces your hit chance by that listed number. It's important to think of these all as flat numbers, as they don't become a percentage chance to hit until the end of the calculation. So, a level 1 character with a steak knife has an 80 hit chance, and you encounter an apartment stalker who has a power of 30. You reduce your hit chance by that power, so your 80 hit chance goes down to 50 hit chance, and then that number becomes your percentage chance to hit. So a level 1 player with a steak knife will have a 50% chance to hit the apartment stalker with their steak knife, normal, and strong attack actions. You also have a kick action, which is available even if you don't have a weapon. It is unaffected by most hit chance modifiers, including enemy power, and will stay at 80% unless you get a debuff like panic, in which case it will drop to 70. And there you have it. That's how stats work, and a brief overview of how damage and accuracy work. I've been in this community basically since early access, and I've seen tons of new players make the mistake of thinking like perception improves accuracy, strength improves damage, dexterity increases your speed. WoHs tutorial is pretty bad, and the game never explains many fundamental mechanics. If you enjoyed the video, or if it helped you, please press the like button, and if you'd like to see more content for World of Horror, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell. I hope you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you on the next video, whatever you decide to watch next on my channel. Thank you so much.